Have you ever pondered the intersection of religion and politics and its role in shaping societies and governments? A fascinating example within political discourse is white Christian nationalism. This phenomenon marries religious beliefs with political goals, striving to maintain a perceived racial and religious heritage. White Christian nationalism is a political ideology that seeks to preserve an America that is culturally and demographically dominated by white norms, reinforced by Christian values. Why does it matter? It's having a profound impact on the present American political scene, influencing policy choices, political rhetoric, and even the outlines of political parties. As we dive into the narrative of white Christian nationalism, we'll uncover its unique interpretation of freedom, its sway on the grand old party, and its stark contrast with democratic principles. As we decipher of white Christian nationalism, we'll witness how it confronts the core principles of American democracy. In our exploration of white Christian nationalism, understanding its origins is a critical first step. The genesis of this ideology lies at the intersection of religious beliefs and political ambitions. Tracing back to the 1800s, there were attempts to fuse the tenets of Christianity with the governance of the country. Fast forward to the mid-20th century, and we witness a striking shift. An increase in secularism and the civil rights movement sparked a sense of societal alienation among white conservative Christians. These changes were perceived as a threat to their religious and cultural identity. This fear, coupled with a deeply ingrained belief in their divine right to rule, led to the emergence of what we now call white Christian nationalism. The closing years of the 20th century marked the political manipulation of this ideology. It began to make waves in the political sphere, predominantly within the Republican Party. The period of the 60s, 70s, and 80s witnessed historical events that fueled its rise. The Roe v. Wade ruling, the removal of prayer from public schools, and the growing recognition of LGBTQ rights were seen as flagrant violations of Christian ideals. These events stirred white Christian nationalists, spurring them to mobilize and extend their influence over American politics. They sought to reclaim America, a nation they firmly believed was founded as a Christian country and should stay that way. This resulted in the endorsement of policies and laws that reflected their conservative and often prejudiced beliefs. The dawn of the new millennium marked the evolution of the white Christian nationalist movement into a powerful political force. The September 11th attacks and the ensuing War on Terror amplified this sentiment, strengthening a narrative of us against them. From fringe belief to a dominant political movement, white Christian nationalism has profoundly impacted American political discourse. The rise of this doctrine and its impact on our democracy narrates a story of fear, faith, and a power struggle. But how exactly has white Christian nationalism influenced American democracy? Let's delve into this. Fundamentally, white Christian nationalism entwines religion with politics, catering to a specific group, white, Christian, and deeply conservative. This interlacing has significantly reshaped the Republican Party, steering it towards more radical social and cultural conservatism. This is evident in the party's stance on topics such as immigration, religious freedom, and racial strife. Now, let's discuss the concept of freedom. It is common knowledge that America was established on the principles of freedom and justice for all. Nevertheless, the liberty stressed by white Christian nationalism often contradicts these democratic principles. This kind of freedom appears to favor the rights of a select group, frequently to the detriment of others. This exclusive approach challenges the democratic promise of equal rights and opportunities for every citizen, irrespective of their racial, religious, or cultural background. White Christian nationalism also poses threats to the constitutional equilibrium between church and state. By promoting a nation that is distinctly white and Christian, it blurs the line between religious beliefs and political objectives, this blurring the American constitutional principle of religious neutrality in government affairs. Moreover, the rise of white Christian nationalism has led to intensified polarization within American society. This split, commonly drawn along racial and religious boundaries, threatens the unity and cooperation vital for a functioning democracy. It fosters an environment of us versus them, weakening the idea of a diverse yet united democratic society. To sum up, white Christian nationalism embodies a contradiction. While it professes to uphold freedom and democracy, it often negates these very principles. The ideology of WCN, while claiming to uphold freedom, frequently contradicts the democratic ideals of inclusivity and equality. What are the means to shield our democracy from such undemocratic ideologies? Let us explore the diverse public opinions surrounding white Christian nationalism. The public's perception of white Christian nationalism fluctuates significantly. To some, it symbolizes a patriotic manifestation of faith and identity, while others perceive it as a menace to democratic diversity. These varied standpoints underline the urgency for frank conversations and a profound comprehension of the implications of this ideology. Education is a potent instrument in this scenario. By encouraging a comprehensive study of history, we can nurture a more sophisticated comprehension of religious and political ideologies. It's pivotal to grasp how these ideologies molded our society and carry on influencing our political terrain. Media literacy is yet another substantial weapon in our cache. In an epoch where disinformation can spread rapidly, we need to arm ourselves with the abilities to distinguish between fact and fiction. This procedure consists of examining sources, challenging biases, and contemplating diverse perspectives to nurture a wider viewpoint. Regardless, the complexity of white Christian nationalism surpasses public comprehension. It symbolizes an ideological opposition to the principles enshrined in our Constitution. Our Constitution maintains the separation of church and state, ensuring that no singular religious belief presides over our political verdicts. It cultivates a democratic ambiance where every citizen can contribute equally, devoid of their religious affiliations or absence thereof. WCN, with its amalgamation of religion and politics, defies these principles. The notion of America as a Christian nation inherently ostracizes those of different faiths or none. It's a vision that opposes the democratic values of diversity and equality, values that we must constantly labor to preserve. To sum up, comprehension and counteraction of white Christian nationalism demand a multi-pronged strategy. It calls for fostering dialogue, endorsing education and media literacy, and reasserting our commitment to constitutional principles. It's a challenge that compels us to scrutinize our values and the form of society we endeavor to create. In the presence of challenges like white Christian nationalism, we must endeavor to maintain and safeguard the principles that render our democracy vibrant and inclusive.